Okay, Rabbi Isai, welcome back. Amira, akum number 3. I gave this year live like 3 weeks ago or so, and the sound didn't work. So now I finally got a chance to sit down and re-record it. So here we go, Amira akum number 3. Okay, so we discussed last time some of the heterim for Amir Akum. We already discussed the heter that you're allowed to do Amir Akum when it's a psik resha. You're allowed to do Amir Akum during Banish Mashos. And we got halfway through discussing you're allowed to do Amir Akum by Choyla. We discussed when it's cold or very cold. Hakol Choyla everybody's considered a chayla when it comes to the cold weather, and therefore, when it's at a certain level of coldness, you're allowed to tell the guy to turn on the heat without a remez. What about AC? Could I do it for the AC? Tachlis, this is what everybody wants. Everybody wants the AC. Now, assuming that turning on the AC is deraisa, let's just work with that for now, that electricity is deraisa, or that turning on the AC is deraisa. Do we have the heter to protect from the heat, just like we had the heter that you're allowed to do Amir Akum to save you and protect you from the cold? Could you do Amir Akum to protect you from the heat? What do you guys think? Let's find out what the poskim say. So how far back can we find this question? You know, they've had fire to warm up cold areas for a very long time. They have not had AC to deal with hot areas for a long time. What's the oldest source that we can find for turning on the AC? So apparently Reb Chaim Pelagi says that when it's boiling hot outside, you could ask the guy to build a tent for you. So Reb Chaim Pelagi back in Baghdad or something like that, he says you're allowed to ask the guy to build a tent, which would be a malacha d'oraisa, to protect you from the heat. So he certainly held that it was allowed. However, the Or Litzion says no. The heter was only said to protect you from the cold weather. The heter was not said to protect you from the heat. Now, many quote Reb Moshe as saying that you're not allowed to ask a guy to turn on your air conditioner in your house because the heter wasn't said for the air conditioner. Now, it's true that there is a tshuva from Reb Moshe where he says you cannot turn on the air, do Amir Akum to ask the guy to turn on the air conditioner. Even when it's very hot. Now, a lot of people quote this from Moshe and say it like halacha Moshe misinai. But l'meisa, it's not so pashut. I heard a shir from Ray Callis, and he made a brilliant, simple point, which is like this. Look at the year that Moshe said this tshuva. It was 1973. Now, I did a little research, and then you could do the same research by asking yourself, your father, your grandfather, whoever you're going to ask, that in 1973, people did not have air conditioning. You know, in 1973, it's like when the air conditioning was just starting to hit houses. You had those couple of rich guys that had that really, really loud air conditioner that just blew a little air in their dining room, and that was about it. L'maisa, people weren't used to air conditioning. The general klal was very used to the heat, and therefore they weren't mitzdayer to a tremendous degree that you could rely on Amir La'akam to turn on the air conditioner. How mitzdayer were they? They were so used to living without air conditioning. Most people didn't have air conditioning in 1973, and if it was one really loud machine, and therefore that's not the matzah of today. Today, we're much more mitzdayer by the hot weather than those olden days. Now, the Minchas Yitzchak happens, he is makel by AC. He says, based on the story of Rebbe and Antinochus, because there was a story, Antoninus and Rebbe. Antoninus asked Rebbe for a bracha. So Rebbe gave him a bracha, you should never be cold. He said, cold? I don't need such a bracha, I won't be cold. You know, I can always put on clothes and blankets and etc. Give me a bracha that I should be protected from the heat. What am I going to do if it's boiling hot? There's nothing to do. So Rebbe gave him a bracha, you should be protected from the heat. So you see from the story that it's a bigger issue, the heat, than the cold. So therefore, the Minchas Yitzchak says, based on this, that if you could ask the guy to protect you from the cold, you could therefore Kal V'chomer ask the guy to protect you from the heat. And you might ask the kasha, then why didn't the Shulchan Aruch say it? At the time of the Shulchan Aruch, they didn't have AC. And even at the time of the Mishnah Berurah, they didn't have AC. So it's not a kasha. And the Minchas Yitzchak adds the second reason, which is, this is not going to be so simple, but he holds electricity as derabanan. So if you hold electricity as derabanan, it's much, much easier, as we will see coming up. Fine. Rabbi Yashiv, what did he say about turning in the AC? There's a famous tshuva that Rabbi Yashiv wrote to the yeshiva in Tifrach. They didn't want to rely on the electricity made by Jews in Eretz Yisrael, so everything was running on a generator. Apparently, they had problems with the generator, and so every so often the generator would shut off on Shabbos. Could you go and ask the guy to turn on the generator, to turn on the air conditioner in the base medrash in Tifrach? Now, if anybody knows, Tifrach is one of the top 3, top 5, I don't know, top 1. It probably depends on who you ask. Yeshivas in Eretz Yisrael. It's called the top 3 yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. It's one of the massive, super stark places. Probably 700 bachrim. Could you think of a greater tzarech than that? 700 bachrim learning on a long Shabbos, a long summer afternoon in Tifrach. Such a stark place. And if anybody doesn't know, Tifrach, if you think Yerushalayim is a hot place, because Yerushalayim gets to 100 in the summer, Tifrach gets to 170, 180, I don't know. But seriously, 110, 115 degrees. Tifrach is really hot. It's down south, it's very hot. So, obviously, right, Rabbi Yashiv's obviously going to be Mekel, right? What did Rabbi Yashiv say about asking the guy to turn on? He said, no! You cannot ask the guy to turn on the air conditioning on Shabbos for the base medrash. What? A different shayla from Tifrach. Tifrach asked Rabbi Yashiv, could we have the guy turn on the air conditioning that goes off by Ne'ilah? For Ne'ilah, could you have it turned on? Dr. Rabbi Yashiv, no. No? I think it's pretty clear. If you have a base medrash with 700 guys by Ne'ilah, there's for sure chaylim there. There has to be chaylim there. It might even be koch nefesh, but there's for sure chaylim there. There's nothing to talk about. And Zot Rabbi Yashiv, no! You cannot ask the guy to turn on the electricity, to turn on the air conditioner. What a chiddush! What's the vart? So if you actually look at Rabbi Yashiv a little carefully, he says it's going to become a hefker velt. People are already, they don't keep the halachas of Amira akum properly. If you do it in the yeshiva, it's a hefker velt. It seems that, I don't know if they do in your yeshiva part, I actually added that. But it's just going to be a hefker velt, and we can't send this message. Now, it seems to be that Rabbi Yashiv wasn't talking pure halacha. It seems there was a gezerah of Rabbi Yashiv. Rabbi Yashiv was geyser. We can't allow this zilzul Shabbos of just Amir akum all over the place, even though you have a heter here. We cannot allow it. So therefore, we don't have a raya for the halacha from Rabbi Yashiv because it's a little bit more of a gezerah. Now that the Melech, Rabbi Yashiv, put a gezerah, he was the man of Klal Yisrael at the time, and he put a gezerah that you cannot do Amir akum to open the air conditioning, surely we're bound by the gezerah. Are we bound by the gezerah of Rabbi Yashiv? So I think we could say, no, we are not bound by the gezerah of Rabbi Yashiv. Why not? The Melech, the Madig, the Gadol spoke. There's a rule by gezerahs. Gezerahs only take effect if the tzibur is mekabel, and if the tzibur is able to be mekabel. If a gezerah is made, but the tzibur was never mekabel, as we see, shemen akum. Shemen what? Yeah, exactly, shemen akum. That was a gezerah that was made. The tzibur was not able to be mekabel for whatever reason, and it was not chal. So even if Rabbi Yashiv made a gezerah that you cannot ask the guy to turn on the AC, no matter what, I would argue that it wasn't mekubal. But that might not be so simple, because I think there are certain areas in Eretz Yisrael where it was mekubal. So therefore, it's unclear how we're going to take this gezerah of Rabbi Yashiv. Now, lemaisa, tachlis, can we ask the guy to turn on the AC? So I would say, if you're uncomfortable, no, that's not enough. Because just like when we said by tzina, you have to be, you have to be ice mensch. It has to be a real problem. So, uncomfortable, not enough. If you're chalashing, you're very uncomfortable, then l'chayra, just like we asked the guy to do the cold, to deal with the cold, we could ask the guy to deal with the heat. Oh, do we have a more lenient level by the kids? If you remember, by the cold, we said for adults it has to be freezing. For the kids, it has to be cold. What about for the heat? Can we say the same? I think no. You know why? You ever look around, you ever realize, I think that the adults have more of a problem when it's hot than the kids. Maybe when it's cold, the kids have a problem first, maybe? I'm not sure. But when it's hot, I'm pretty sure, the adults are bothered first. So I don't think you can blame this one on the kids. I think it's when you have to be chalashing. And listen, if you have a kid who's sick or whatever, and the heat's bothering him, then I'll agree you have the heter. But I think most of the time the metzias is, it bothers the adults before it bothers the kids. One more thing, what if it's freezing from the AC? It's not freezing from the natural cold air, it's freezing because the AC is on. Could you ask the guy to turn it off? So Dr. Moshe, yes, it's no different. I don't care whether the cold air is natural cold air or whether the cold air is generated by the AC. Either way, you're allowed to ask the guy to turn it off. Okay, heter number 4. Another possible heter is Amira la Amira. Guy 1, please tell guy 2 to shut the lights for me. Could I do that? So l'maisa it's a machlokes of achronim, whether there's the isser of Amira la Amira. Maybe there's only a gezerah Amira la akum. Maybe Amira la Amira is okay when there's two guys involved. So l'maisa it's a machlokes achronim. The Mishnah Berurah says that you could only rely on this by a hefsed gadol. So if in a very serious case, you'd be allowed to rely on this. Now, this heter, by the way, only applies to additional benefit, category 3, as we called it previously, additional benefit, or category 2, indirect benefit, shutting off the lights. You would not be able to do Amira to tell the guy to turn on the light, because, if the guy went by himself went and turned the light on for you, you wouldn't be allowed to get Anah. Kal v'chaymer, if you told the guy to Amira, guy to guy, to turn on the light. So it's only by additional benefit or by taking away the problem, taking away the light, that's the problem. Okay, now the Chassam Sofer says that Amira would be allowed, even for direct benefit, on Erev Shabbos. On Erev Shabbos, you would be allowed to do Amira. Therefore, this could become useful. Let's say you want to overnight a package. Let's say something, important. You have to overnight a package, and you go Friday afternoon to the post office to overnight the package. Zot the Chassam Sofer, you can be saying on the Chassam Sofer to say Amira la Amira is allowed on Erev Shabbos, because when you tell the guy at the register to go, he's not bringing it himself. He's telling a different guy to go bring it. And therefore, it's Amira and it will be allowed. I don't know how long this heter is going to last, Lamaisa. Nowadays, for example, on Amazon, we might have lost a lot of this Amira, because it might be the second that I press the buy button, it automatically goes through the algorithm of the Amazon, and it goes directly telling, the first person that's going to actually get a real person getting a message might be the delivery guy who says the package needs to go to XYZ, because it's all done computer to computer, and therefore you might lose the Amira in Amazon. To last I saw, the post office was still working with people by the register who actually process things, so that would be Amira. I imagine at some point in the future in the post office also, you might go drop it off and the machine will weigh it and send it to exactly where it needs to go, and all probably going to be digitalized like Amazon, I assume. And at that point, you're probably going to lose the Amira heter. Heter number 5. There's a famous sheet of the Bala Iter. The Bala Iter says that you're allowed to do Amir Lam Akum, the Tzarech mitzvah. So for mitzvah purposes, you're allowed to do Amir Lam Akum. We do not hold of the Bala Iter. The Bala Iter is not La Halacha on Deraisas. Now, we, however, do, in certain scenarios, rely on the Bala Iter. When is that? By the Shulchan Aruch says mitzvah derabim. By mitzvah derabim, we can rely on the Bala Iter. Or the way that the Mishnah Berurah calls it, a michshel derabim. What's a michshel derabim? For example, that let's say the Erev's down. So you could ask the guy to do baina deraisa, to put the Erev back up, to protect, so the Rabbim doesn't stumble, the Rabbim doesn't have a problem that they're carrying on Shabbos. Therefore, you can ask the guy to put the Erev, Mikshel Rabbim, Amir La'akam is allowed. Now, what about a Stam Mitzvah the Rabbim, which isn't a Mikshel the Rabbim? It's not that the Rabbim is going to do Aveira, but rather the Rabbim wants to do a positive mitzvah. So one there could learn the Mishnah Brura, that the Mishnah Brura is arguing, so to speak, on the Shulchan Aruch, and the Mishnah Brura is saying, no, not a mitzvah d'Rabbim, only a Mikshel d'Rabbim. And I actually, definitely see why somebody would read that in the Mishnah Brura. Happens to be, we see that Moshe Feinstein understood the Mishnah Brura, that no, he's just giving an example, he's not arguing on the Shulchan Aruch. Any mitzvah d'Rabbim, you'd be allowed to do Amir La'akum. And the Chayr, we could rely on that. We could do Amir La'akum for a mitzvah d'Rabbim. Okay. So, if we're dealing with a d'Rabbanan, then we're going to for sure have a heter of Shvus to Shvus b'makom mitzvah. So if it's d'Rabbanan, easy. Shvus to Shvus b'makom mitzvah, even if it's not a mitzvah d'Rabbim. But if we're dealing with Isser d'Reisa, it would be only allowed if it's a mitzvah d'Rabbim. Now, what is considered in the mitzvah d'Rabbim? So, Rav Akiva Eger and the Pri Megadim say it's not enough that you have a Rabbim doing a mitzvah. So, let's say you have a base medrash of people, a bunch of individuals learning, each is learning their own thing. So that is not a mitzvah d'Rabbim. It's Lefi the Pri Megadim and Rav Akiva Eger. It's a Rabbim that is doing a mitzvah, but it's not a mitzvah d'Rabbim. According to Rav Akiva Eger and the Pri Megadim, what would be a mitzvah d'Rabbim? Like Kriyas HaTorah, Shemayna Esrei, things like that are a mitzvah d'Rabbim, but not individuals doing mitzvahs. What about a share of the Rabbim? I don't know. I'm not sure what Rav Akiva Eger and the Pri Megadim would say. I'm choishish it would be allowed, but I'm really not. I don't have a raya, so I can't say for sure. Now, it seems that the poskim in general do take this on. And they do say that you're not allowed to do Amir La'akim if it's just a Rabbim doing mitzvahs. Now the Aruch HaShulchan and the Ramah, they scream, they aren't happy with the minhag of, apparently in a lot of places in Europe, they used to go and buy after Shemoneh Esrei of Ne'ilah, for the piyutim, they would go and have the goy light candles, and they would spread the candles around the Beis Medrash. The goy would spread the candles around the Beis Medrash in order that people could see, in order to be able to say the piyutim after Ne'ilah. So the Aruch HaShulchan and the Ramah were both not happy with this minhag, to say the least. Yeah? Now, why not? Why were they not happy with the minhag? Surely it's mitzvah d'Rabbim. If it's mitzvah d'Rabbim, why weren't they happy about it? So I guess you don't need a tzibur to say the piyutim. I don't know. It sounds like a mitzvah d'Rabbim. The Rabbim's saying the piyutim of Ne'ilah. Maybe you don't need a tzibur to say most of it. I mean, Hashem, you do need a tzibur to say. So how does that work? Maybe the Hashem everybody knows by heart, so they could have said the Hashem's, but the piyutim themselves, you don't need a tzibur. It's unclear. I mean, I definitely see why there were those that had this minhag and were relying on it. Maybe there's another possibility what they weren't happy with is that you can't set things up this way. This isn't a way to set it up, a plan from the beginning. It's one thing if the electricity goes out, but you can't set it up with pre-electricity, so the electricity didn't go out. You can't set it up with this plan of the goyim doing lighting candles for you. An interesting chap that I was thinking is on Yontif, I think you should be able to ask the guy to turn on the AC. Yeah? For any mitzvah. Why? So the Mishnah Brura says that we know electricity might be d'Rabbanan. It's a big fight. We're going to discuss it in a little more detail soon. It's a big famous machlokes. Is electricity d'Rabbanan and d'Oraisa? Yeah, we'll call it, there's really lots of names and faces, but we'll call it the Chazon Ish, who says it's Baina d'Oraisa, and we'll call it Rav Shlomo Zalman, who says it's some form of Neila d'Rabbanan. Okay, so there are other names and faces and other shitas, but those are the ikar, we'll call it. So, some say electricity is d'Rabbanan, right? Okay. Now, if you're doing for your Shabbos, your Yontif Suda, that's a mitzvah. Right? Kalshing will say the sukkah, it's boiling in the sukkah. You have air conditioning in your sukkah, and it's boiling in the sukkah. Could you ask a guy to turn it on? So, mitzvah, yes, you'd be allowed to if it's the Rabbanan. If it's the Raisa, that's not mitzvah d'Rabbim. Even if you have 8 people or 10 people at your meal, it's not considered mitzvah d'Rabbim. So you wouldn't be allowed to ask the guy. Now, I think I have an interesting raya from a Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah, we discussed a case of, let's say the schach came off of the sukkah. Are you allowed to ask a guy to put the schach back on the sukkah, on Yontif? So the Mishnah Berurah says yes, based on the Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan inspector. Now, if you actually go check out Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan, why does he allow you on Yontif to ask the guy to put the schach back on the sukkah? So he has a chap like this. He says it's a svek. What's a svek? Safek, maybe we hold like the Baal Iter, that for mitzvah purposes, you're allowed to ask a guy to do them to fix the schach. Imtin Tzaloimer, we don't hold of the Baal Iter, which we generally don't. Imtin Tzaloimer, that we don't hold of the Baal Iter, well, we know that we are allowed to do melachas that are eichel nefesh tika melachas. Eichel nefesh, like you're allowed to cook like you're allowed to cook and probably do toichin on Yontif. You're allowed to do preparation of food tika melachas on Yontif, and you're allowed to do it even if it's not the exact same tzura of the cooking. So we know that in the production of cheese, potentially there's boina. That's a hak, but potentially there's baina in the production of cheese. And therefore, there is a tzad to say that baina is allowed on Yontif. Now, we aren't generally semech on this. But if baina would be allowed on Yontif because it's allowed for making a cheese, it would be allowed also to fix your sukkah. So Zakt Rabbi Yitzchak inspector, this is the svek. Safek, we hold like the Baal Iter, that for any mitzvah you could do Amira akum d'reisa. V'imtin tzalomer, we don't hold the Baal Iter, well maybe we allow baina and metoich. The svar of metoich would apply for baina, and we would allow to do baina for this to build the sukkah. So I'm going to say the same thing for electricity. Safek that it's derabanan, and if electricity is derabanan, it's all good for the mitzvah purposes. And the imtim loimer that it's electricity is deraisa. Well, what's the problem if it's deraisa? The leading opinion of why it's deraisa is baina. So if it's baina, there's a suffix that would be allowed as well, based on the metaich of baina from making cheese, and therefore it should be allowed to ask a guy on Yontif to turn on the air conditioner. Beautiful. Even for those that don't want to be samech on electricity being derabanan, it's for sure it's sad. Okay. Now I said this svara to sit Tav Chacham. I was very proud of it. I thought it was geschmack. And he came back to me later and he said he found the Or Litzion. It says this same cheshbon. So, geschmack. Okay. Now, so I think we could rely on it, and I think it's geschmack. Okay. Now, even though we don't allow Amira akum b'makom mitzvah d'oraisa, we allow Amira akum b'makom mitzvah d'rabanan. The name of this is Shvus b'makom mitzvah. Just a disclaimer, not every Shvus, not every double d'rabanan would be allowed by a mitzvah on Shabbos. Well, maybe if we have a chance, we'll get back into it, explaining exactly where it doesn't apply. But, there's higher level and lower level d'rabanans. But Amir al-Akim is considered it's a Darbanan she'im by Mesa. You're not actually physically doing anything, so it's relatively a low-level Darbanan in that respect, and therefore, Shvus to Shvus, b'makom mitzvah will be allowed. Telling the guy to do a Darbanan, if it's a mitzvah, will be allowed. Now, what's called for a mitzvah? What's a mitzvah? There's some people that do things that they call mitzvahs that I call averos, if you know what I mean. So what exactly is called a mitzvah? So the Mishnah Berurah says when it comes to Shabbos Suda, let's say this is the classic example, that there's a Carmelis. It's not a Rosh Hashanah proper, it's a Carmelis. I'm not getting involved to what that is right now. And there's no Erev, right? So you want to ask a guy to bring food from one side of the Carmelis to the other side of the Carmelis. Now carrying outside when there's no Carmelis, Haitzah, is only a Darabanan. If it's a Rosh Hashanah, it's a Daraisa. If it's in a karmas, it's a derabanan. So the Mishnah Berurah says you can ask the guy to bring the main food, as all the poskim say, the chalent. You can ask the guy to bring the chalent. You can ask the guy to bring the challah. You can ask the guy to bring the wine. But you want to ask the guy to bring the side dish. You want him to bring the apple crisp. So that would be that you wouldn't be allowed. Because you have the ikr of the Suda, even if you're missing an apple crisp. Nishkeferlach, who cares? But if you're missing the cholent, you don't have your Shabbos Suda, and therefore it's a problem. And that's pretty much what all the poskim, how they make the Mishnah Berurah practical. I just want to point out, nowadays, there are some Shabbos Sudas that are a little different than the Revel Yoshev Dika Shabbos Suda, if you know what I mean. Meaning, if you have the pastrami, the navel pastrami, and you have the deli roll, and you have the schnitzel, and you just happen not to have the cholent because it's on the other side, you need Amira akum to get you that cholent, I'm not convinced that that would be allowed. But if the cholent is the main part of your meal, and you don't have the cholent, you do Amira akum to get the cholent. Now, just to be clear what I mean, what's the cutoff point? How do you decide? If you feel that you don't have a main dish, then you're allowed to ask Amir al-Akum to get it. If you already have a main dish, and this is just one of the dishes, then you would not be allowed to do Amir al-Akum, because you have your Suda, it's just a little point you cannot do Amir al-Akum for. So, other examples that I saw is you're allowed to ask the guy to bring you matzah through a Carmelist, you're allowed to ask the guy to bring you a sitter through the Carmelist. You're allowed to ask the guy, let's say you had those candles lit before Ne'ilah, before Yontif, before Yom Kippur, and you just want the guy to take the muksa candles and move it around the room, that would be allowed because that is Amira la'amira b'makom mitzvah. So I want to just get back for a second to the air conditioning. We can discuss it for a second. Is it a mitzvah to have the? You know what? Actually, I'm going to hold up on the air conditioner. I'm going to get back to it later. Actually, fine. Now, other cases where we allow shvus to shvus is we allow shvus to shvus by mixes chayli. And by the way, Shlomo Zalman, I'm going to do the Shlomo Zalman in a second. We allow by tsar gadol. For tsar gadol, we allowed to tell a guy to do a derabanan. And Shlomo Zalman says, let's say your lights are on and you can't sleep. That's considered tsar gadol, and you'd be able to ask a guy to turn it off. If you hold the electricity is derabanan, which Shlomo Zalman did. And we allow by hefsid meruba. Hefsid meruba, you're allowed to tell a guy to do a derabanan. Also, we allow a guy to do the rabbanan to prevent sar balachayim. So the cows need to be milked or whatever it is. You can tell the guy, well actually that's probably deraisa, but you can maybe tell the guy to do it in a way where you're going to spill out the milk, then it won't be deraisa, and then you'd be allowed to tell a guy to do it. Fine. Can you tell a guy to do a malacha deraisa with a shinai? Because, shinai is only derabanan. So let's say turning on the heat, and it's not freezing, it's just a little uncomfortable. But you want to tell the guy to turn on the heat. Or, a woman needs her nails cut. It's chatzitza, whatever, she needs her nails cut. And could you ask a guy to bite her nails? Do it with a shinai. Or peel her nails. Could you ask a guy to do that? So, the halacha is, that, as the Mishnah Berurah paskins, that you are allowed, he paskins like the Magen Avram, that you are allowed to do Amira to a guy to do a shinai and a deraisa, because the shinai and deraisa makes it darabanan. So, you would be allowed to do this. You would be allowed to tell the guy to bite the lady's nails. That sounds pretty cool, right? You're allowed to be telling the guy to do that. Now, Revel Yoshev qualifies, and he says you cannot tell the guy to turn on the heat with your elbow. That is not allowed. Why? Because it's the same result. Meaning, Revel Yoshev's maskim that you could tell the guy to sign for you with your left hand. Tell the guy, sign with your left hand. Revel Yoshev's maskim, you're allowed to do that based on the Mishnah Berurah. But over there, because when the guy signs with his left hand, it doesn't come out as well. But when the guy turns on the heat switch with his elbow, it ends up with the same job. And Zot Revel Yoshev, if the teitzah is different, you would not be allowed to tell the guy to do it with a shinai. Now, I don't know if I didn't see other people really make a stink of this. I definitely hear the svar of Revel Yoshev. There's definitely something to it. I'm assuming that the other poskim do not hold of this, because I didn't see this brought down en masse. So I'm assuming the most poskim allow for any malacha. Now, I'm sure this is going to happen, right? You tell the guy, Rav Goy, could you turn on the lights with your elbow? And the guy says, yeah, no problem. And the guy goes and turns it on with his fingers. Is that a problem? So, maybe I shouldn't bring the example of the maybe I'll keep that example. So could you tell the guy to do it? You tell the guy to do it with his elbow, turn the light with his elbow, and then the guy goes and does it, shut off the light with your elbow, and the guy goes, let's leave it turning on. The guy goes and turns the light on with his finger. Is it a problem? So, Zakta, the Ishal Avram, and Rishon Zalman, and they say that it's not a problem. Why? Because the guy did a dated the nafshe. The guy decided for himself to turn it on with his fingers. So therefore, if the guy decided to do it by himself, to do it with his fingers instead of his elbows, therefore it's okay. Now the question is, how could this be? Wait a second. If the guy would have went by himself without you even asking him and turned on the light for you with his fingers, we would have said it's a problem. The guy did the malacha for you. It's for sure a problem. Now, you told him to do it with your elbows, and he does it with his fingers. It's okay. Surely, Kal v'chomer, that's worse because the guy is following your direction and turning it on. So how can you say, he didn't do it, turn the light for himself, he turned it on for you. So I think the answer is the Geschmack answer. You set the standard. When you said, please turn on the light with your elbow, you set the standard for Shinoi. Why did the guy change from the Shinoi? The guy changed from the Shinoi. The guy changed from the Shinoi for you. By the way, I just want to be clear, we're talking about still b'makay mitzvah. So once again, you need to do a mitzvah in the room. Could you ask the guy to turn on the light with his elbow? I didn't say this clearly enough. Could you ask the guy to turn the light with his elbow for the mitzvah? So the answer, and not mitzvah derabim. So since you set the standard of doing it with your elbow, therefore you set it with a shinoi, the guy changes from that, that's the guy's business. And the guy changed from that, it was daited nafshe. Whereas if the guy just went and turned it on with his lights, turned it on with his fingers, the lights, it would be a problem to get enough from that. Okay, geschmack. Now, a big question, which is going to be very negeya, is how do we view something which is a machlokes d'oraisa d'rabbanan? Would you be allowed to ask the guy to do something that's a machlokes d'oraisa d'rabbanan for a mitzvah? So let's see if we can find any rayas in the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah says you can ask the guy to carry a mitzvah item in a place which some hold is a karmelis, some hold it's Rishus Harabim. So a place which is a machlokes, whether it's a karmelis or Rishus Harabim, machlokes d'rabbanan d'oraisa, yes, you could ask the guy to bring you your Shabbos food. Another case, the Mishnah Berurah allows you to ask the guy to bring a lulav for you on Sukkot from somewhere which is outside of 12 mil. Less than 12 mil is for surely a tchum d'rabbanan. Outside of 12 mil, it's a machlokes, whether that's tchum d'oraisa or tchum d'rabbanan. Zok, the Mishnah Berurah, you're allowed to ask. We could be seimich on the shitas that it's the rabbanon, and therefore, and we'll have shvus to shvus b'makayim mitzvah. The Minchas Yitzchak says electricity is a suffix d'oraisa for Amira akum, and you could treat it as the rabbanon, but it's not so fair because his real shita is the rabbanon. Rav Moshe seems to say this as well, that you could go as well by and treat it as the electricity as the rabbanon. Even though Rav Moshe, he was choishish for the Chazon Ish, is how he always writes it. He didn't hold of the Chazon Ish, but he was choishish for the Chazon Ish, meaning he was in Suffolk himself, and therefore, by Mir Lakim, it seems that he was Mekel. The Kekalas Shabbos says you could rely on the Mekel opinion. Now, something to note, if you open a sefer like Orcha Shabbos, you'll see the hard line Eretz Yisrael Poskim take on that electricity is Vadei D'Oraisa, like the Chazon Ish. We hold of the Chazon Ish. Rav Vosner, Rav Nissen Karelitz, Rav Yashiv, they take on that electricity is Vadei D'Oraisa, and therefore they would not allow you to ask the guy to help you with electricity b'makam mitzvah. You couldn't have the guy turn on the light. We're not talking about, by the way, incandescent. Incandescent, everybody holds is D'Oraisa. Right? I'm talking about, let's say, LED lights. So you would, Lefi Rav Yashiv, you cannot tell the guy to turn on the LED lights b'makam mitzvah. It's not shvus to shvus b'makam mitzvah. It's D'Oraisa. Okay. What about us? Who are we? So I think we're actually one step removed. Meaning Rav Yashiv It's not like it was a suffer. Rabbi Yosef had a shita. Rabbi Yosef, he knew his mechutin. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman held that it was the Rabbanan, but Rabbi Yosef had a shita. His shita was the Raisa, so he can reckon, he can take into account that there's those that say it's the Rabbanan, because his shita it's the Raisa. But us, we're now a stage removed. We're a generation, we're a stage removed. So we can look at the Poskim and say, some Poskim say the Raisa, some Poskim say the Rabbanan. So I think we could say that it is the Rabbanan and rely on it for a mitzvah. Okay, so can we ask a guy to turn on the AC for mitzvah purposes? Or for Tsar Gadol? So I think yes, we could, because we could be semich on the opinions that it's the Rabbanan, and once we're semich on the opinions that it's the Rabbanan, we have the heterim of Tsar Gadol or mitzvah. Okay, so back to the Amira akum Pesach program that I spoke about when I gave the share a bunch of weeks ago. So, what was the Amira akum Pesach program? They had a guy sitting in the elevator, and when you would come in and you would tell the guy, 5th floor, and the guy would take you to the 5th floor. Is that a problem? Let's re-examine. So now that I'm willing to rely on the fact that electricity is the Rabbanan, and that's the main issue with the elevator, so is there a heter? So let's think about it. If you're asking the guy to go to the 4th floor, is that a makkah mitzvah? No, I'm assuming you're a regular healthy person. You could walk 4 flights. You could do it. It might be uncomfortable, but you could do it. I don't think you're going to call it Tsar Gadol either, 4 flights of steps. Now, if you're an old person, you have a trouble walking or something like that, okay, fine. So over here, and you can't get to shul, or you can't get to the Yontif Suda without the elevator. So over here, l'chayr, you already have the shvus to shvus, b'makkah mitzvah, to ask the guy to do it. And if you're on the 23rd floor, listen, this guy, he's not going to shul. If you don't let the guy take him down 23 flights, he's not going to go to shul. Is that the right thing? I'm not getting involved whether that's the right thing. But the Mitzvah says he's not going to shul for 23 floors. So therefore, l'chayr, you have the heter of shvus to shvus b'makom mitzvah. Okay, so 4th floor, problem. 23rd floor, okay. 4th floor for the guy that can't walk, that's also l'chayra. We have the heter, and it's not actually a problem. Amira akum, I might be taking a step back from what I said previously. However, it still is probably a problem of Zilzal Shabbos, especially setting up a program in such a way that this is how you're planning on the setup. This is how you use that. That's a Zilzal Shabbos or Zilzal Yontif to do such. Now, and there's also the problems that Moshe pointed out. There's the issue of Maris Ayin going into the elevator, and there's also the issues of the sensors that you're still going to be triggering, which, by the way, that could probably get more or less avoided if the guy is told to hold the button that holds it open, the doors open while people are walking in. And there's the issues of changing current, which is debatable in halakha. So, Lemaisa, I think I might no longer be calling this the Amir Akum hotel. If it's going to the 4th floor, it's still the Amir Akum program. If they're going to the 23rd floor, so I am no longer going to be calling it the Amir Akum program. I'll changing the name to the Zilzal Shabbos program, or Zilzal Yontif program. Okay, that's that. What about Amir Yisrael? What do you mean Amir Yisrael? Obviously, you can't tell a guy to do an Isser. A Yid to do an Isser. What, you think it's crazy? Tell a Yid to do an Isser? Obviously not. What's the case? So how about this? Well, let's say I don't open bottle caps. Could I tell the other Yid over here, could you open the bottle? Could you open the bottle cap for me? Could you open it? Could you open the Coke? So it kind of depends. If I hold that it's absolutely Isser, then it's a problem. In all respects, it's a problem if you hold the idea of a Amir Akum Shlichus. It's a problem of Shlichus. You're bringing my Shliach to do an Isser. It's a problem of Daber Dover. When I say open cap, that's like saying turn on light. I can't do that. And that would be a problem out Daber Dover. And it's Zilzal Shabbos for me to tell you to open a bottle. I tell you to do something that's Isser. That's Zilzal Shabbos. Having Isurim done for me is surely a problem. So therefore, Rav Yoshev, who holds it's usher to open bottle caps, cannot tell his mechutin of Shlomo Zalman, could you open the bottle of Coke for me? However, if Rav Shlomo Zalman opened the bottle cap for his mechutin Rav Yoshev would be allowed to drink from it. Why? The Mishnah Berurah says that if there is somebody that is mekel, then there's no Meisa Shabbos. So if Rosh Zalman opened up the bottle cap for Eliyashiv, there would be no Meiser Shabbos, and Rabbi Yashu would be allowed to drink from it. Now, and by the way, we gave the example of bottle caps. The same would be true by, let's say, carrying with the Erev, making a tea with your Kli Shishi, all this stuff. Once again, if I hold it's Aser, is a problem. Now, would I be able to be, if I hold it's Aser, would I be able to be Meramis to the guy? Could I say, listen, I would love tea. I didn't make tea since the Shabbos Chaval. That would be allowed. I didn't do shlichus. I didn't make you a shlich. I didn't do davar. Still, there might be a little bit to debate, but I think it would be okay. And now, obviously, once the guy makes it for me, there is no, as we just explained, there is no Meiser Shabbos, and I could drink that tea. Now, what if I don't hold it's aser? I'm just, I'm machmir. I don't hold it's aser, but I'm machmir not to. Because, I know there's a whole yashar that says you can't open bottle caps. And I know there's a Shalom Zalman that's matur, so I'm machmir not to. But not that I hold it's aser. Then I would be allowed to ask him, could you open the bottle cap for me? Because once I don't hold it's aser, for me though, there's no isser of Amira akum if I don't actually hold it's aser. Okay, next. If my wife was Mekabel Shabbos already, can I go and do malacha for her? Can I, I forgot to comb my shaitel. Can I comb her shaitel for her? I don't know, whatever you're going to think of. Can I do whatever malacha for her if she forgot? Can I forgot to, whatever muksa thing, whatever, turn on those lights, etc. Whatever, let's say it's dafka for her. Could I do it? So the answer is yes. The Mishnah Berurah says yes. Now there's another Mishnah Berurah discussing the concept of keeping 2 days Yom Kippur. Lamaisa, we say the Ramah says you should not keep 2 days Yom Kippur, but there's a concept of, in theory, just like we keep in Chutz La'aretz 2 days Pesach, 2 days Sukkot, why not 2 days Yom Kippur? So once again, the Ramah says don't do this because it creates P'chut Nefesh. But Lamaisa, let's say somebody who's noyig to do this for whatever reason, and let's make it a Thursday, Friday Yom Kippur. So now when it gets to Shabbos, probably gonna be pretty hungry. He wants some food, right? So he's going to, could he, ask another Yid on Friday who keeps 1 day Yom Kippur like a normal guy, could you cook for me some cholent for Shabbos? Could you cook me a roast for tonight? I'm going to be kind of hungry. Could the Yom Kippur Dika Yid ask the non-Yom Kippur Yid to cook for him? The Mishnah Berurah says no. Stira! Why by Kabbalah Shabbos, when the wife is Makabal Shabbos, I'm allowed to the wife can ask me to do malacha, but Yom Kippur, I can't ask the non-Yom Kippur Yid to do malacha. So the difference, as is explained, but the poskim is like this. When my wife is Makabal Shabbos, even klape her, in regards to her accepting of Shabbos, for me it's not Shabbos. She never said it's Shabbos for me, just because she was accepted Shabbos. And therefore, since even in regards to her acceptance, for me it's not Shabbos, therefore I'm going to do malacha for her because what's shaykhus? It's not Shabbos for me. However, by Yom Kippur, this guy is working with the tzad that you have to keep 2 days Yom Kippur. And since he's working, if it's Yom Kippur for him, it's Yom Kippur for me. So if it's Yom Kippur for me, it's Yom Kippur for him. So therefore, I can't go and tell him to cook. Because I'm working with the tzad that it's Yom Kippur for me. On the tzad, it's Yom Kippur for me, it's Yom Kippur for him. And therefore, I can't ask him to cook on Yom Kippur. Okay, now let's bring this a little bit more practical. Can a 2-dayer, a chutznik who comes to Eretz Yisrael for Sukkot, could he ask his brother-in-law who lives in Eretz Yisrael, could he ask, who keeps 1 day because he mamish lives there, could he ask him to do malacha for him? So if most of the places say, don't ask mefurish, and any malacha that's done, you're allowed to get hana. That's the standard psak. But let's actually get a little bit more accurate and a little more specific. So in this case, what is it more akin to, the Kabbalah Shabbos, or is it more akin to Yom Kippur? Answer, it's more akin to Kabbalah Shabbos, because the chutznik, agree that my brother-in-law, the Eretz Yisraelnik, should be keeping 1 day. He shouldn't be keeping 2 days. He lives in Eretz Yisrael. Why would he keep 2 days? And Mamela, I could ask him to do a malacha for me. Right? Turn on the lights for me. However, in contrast, let's say I'm a chutznik, and there's another chutznik that I see who's there in Eretz Yisrael, but he's a Chabadnik, and he relies on the Shulchan Aruch Harav, who says that you keep one day. Or he's a Sephardi Bacher, and he relies on Rav Avadia, who says that Sephardi Bachrim should keep one day. Now, could I ask him? Or let's say another example. I have a modern cousin, and in this modern cousin circle, they have whatever psak, I don't know, whatever, that they keep one day for no good reason. Or maybe some reason, whatever. So could I ask them to do melacha? So the answer would be no. Why? Even though the Chabadnik guy and the Tzvardi, even though they have good reason to keep one day, they're relying on the Shulchan Aruch Harav, and they're relying on Rav Avadia, they have good reason to keep one day. However, Klape me, they should be keeping 2 days. Klape Mayan Hagas, they should be keeping 2 days. And therefore, I would not be allowed to ask them to do malacha for me. However, if they did malacha for me, I'd be allowed to get hana. There's no Meister Shabbos. The Shulchan Aruch Harav, Rav Avadia hold that it's 1 day. They're not supposed to be keeping Yantif today. And therefore, it would be allowed. Which is, sometimes it's going to be very tricky. There's that guy who, he's staying here for like 4 or 5 years, 3, 4 years. I don't really know what exactly I hold in that matzav. I gave extreme examples, which are clear. The middle examples are very complicated, and I think that's why a lot of the poskim just say this like nusach, don't ask, because it's a little complicated to tell everybody the sugya every time. But now that you're zeicha to learn the sugya, you know that you know. Gishmak. Shkayach for listening, and have an amazing week.